5 of us on here. Okay. Here's the key takeaway. CCJ courses are offered on a 4-semester cycle. Take required classes when they're offered, or you will be here in 2 years. So that is critical. You need to take the classes when we offer them, those core classes, and the electives offered by us, policing and corrections, which are required on some tracks. So the 5 core classes and the 2 electives are offered on this 4-semester cycle. The concentration classes, in most concentrations, you're taking 3 classes offered by someone else. In treatment and rehabilitation, you're taking 4. So those other departments have their own schedules. I don't do their scheduling, so you need to keep an eye on that. But generally speaking, those classes are offered either once a year or sometimes every semester, right? So your concentration and your concentration classes, you have a little more flexibility with. So just keep that in mind. You definitely want to sign up for the CCJ core classes because they're only going to be offered once every 4 semesters. So you should be signed up for ethics and pro seminar for this semester. If you are not signed up for ethics and pro seminar, please contact Shelby. Well, you could just tell us now. Is one of you not signed up for those classes?
Okay.
Are you, all 3 of you signed up for those classes? Mohammed, are you signed up for those too?
Is it possible to repeat the 3 classes again?
Sure. The 2 classes you should be signed up for are in the fall of odd years. Are you guys able to see my screen? Okay. Fall of odd years. So that's 2025, right? The 2 classes we offer are ethics and pro seminar, and you have to take them both. They won't be offered again for 4 semesters. So you need to be enrolled in these 2 classes for sure. If you are not, talk to Shelby immediately. We can still get you in, but you have to take those classes. Okay. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Oh, Shelby, did you hit record? I did not.
I did, yes.
Okay. Thank you. Okay.
Sure.
All right. So everybody's on the same page. We're all in those 2 classes already, or does someone need help getting in there?
I registered both of them.
Okay. Andy, you're good. Neve, you're good. Okay, cool. And then, then next spring, you should all be in my issues and jurisprudence class. Some of you might take the corrections class. Some of you might not. Okay, so electives, if they're offered by our program, and that's corrections and policing, they're also offered on a 4-semester cycle. However, some of the tracks require them. Like a lot of the tracks require you to choose either policing or corrections, right? So you might need it. So look at your concentration, because if you do, you need to take it when it's being offered. The only exception on electives would be the internship and thesis research. Those can be taken any semester. However, you need to make advanced arrangements. You can't just sign up for those classes. So if you want to do the internship, you need to meet with Kenya the semester before, and you need to have a placement. So you need to have figured that out before you sign up for the class. So you need to have the placement already secured, because they decide, we don't assign you to an internship. They have to want you. So you have to go through an interview process and stuff like that. Thesis research is primarily designed for folks who want to go on to their PhD, but some people at the master's level also are interested in publishing, and so then the thesis research would make sense. But you've got to find a faculty member who either wants to work with you on your project or has a project that they need assistance on that you could join. So that has to be worked out between you and whatever faculty member is going to be doing your thesis research with you. I strongly encourage you to do an internship if you haven't worked in the system yet. So, Mohammed, it sounds like you've worked in the system, although you may want to work in the US system, so you may want to do it too. But if you've never worked in the system, I think it's very helpful to do an internship. If nothing else, you will have a professional reference. Like I can tell potential employers certain things about you, but a professional reference can tell them other things. And so I think that is great. Your internship supervisor can give you a positive reference. I think that can help you secure a job. So I recommend that. You will be going and listening to Kenya talk about it in more detail, I think at 1:10, but later this afternoon, but I would plug that as well. That's a good use of your electives. All right, concentrations, you should be in one of these 4: treatment and rehabilitation, organizational leadership, cybersecurity, or strategic intelligence. It is easy to change between them, but you should have picked one. Okay, so you should be in one. For treatment and rehabilitation, that is all run by social work. You are required to take the diagnostic and assessment class, and you should probably take that first. And then you can select any 3 courses that social work offers at the graduate level. So that would be 5,000 and above. And there's lots to choose from, and depending on what you want to do, different classes might make more sense. Like there's a drug treatment class, there's a domestic violence class. It depends what area of the system you foresee yourself as working in. And you can pick any 3 social work classes in addition to that class you're all required to take, diagnosis and assessment. In terms of the other concentrations, they are all offered in partnership with the School for Professional Studies. Most of them require you to take either policing or corrections, and then classes required by them. If you go online, it's going to tell you what the classes are required. They offer their classes in 8-week terms. Okay, so there's 2 fall terms, and there's 2 spring terms, right? So they're 8. So every semester you could potentially take 2. I recommend you take one of our classes and 2 of theirs, so you've got 8 weeks, because otherwise the 8 weeks where you're doing one of theirs is going to be a lot if you're taking 2 of ours as well. But you'll have to see how the schedule works out. But you're basically taking a whole semester, but you're doing it in 8 weeks, so it's compressed. Obviously, that's going to be a bigger time commitment than if it was offered over 16 weeks. The instruction is online and asynchronous for School for Professional Studies. Most of them are online and asynchronous. I believe Maria's cybersecurity has some on-campus classes that you could take. Social work will also offer classes online and in person. All CCJ classes that we are offering, the core and the electives, are on campus and in person. We don't offer them online. So just so you can, for planning purposes, that. Here's the contact information for the concentration. So Maria Weber is cybersecurity. Joe Lyons is strategic intelligence. And Steve Winton is organizational leadership. Organizational leadership is sort of closer to a traditional AOJ program, learning sort of management stuff as it relates to the CJ system. Okay, are there any questions about the concentrations? Have you all selected a concentration? Has anyone not selected one? Go ahead. Sorry, Mohammed.
Yeah. I selected the practice with individuals, and actually,
treatment and rehab. Good. Okay, great. You can change your concentration. To initiate a change of concentration, you just have to tell me, and then there's a form you need to fill out. Petition to amend the graduate program. I am going to approve it, but just FYI, it could delay your graduation if you changed really late in the game. Although we will allow you to count any other concentration class as an elective. So let's say you're shopping and you say, I'm going to take the first class in cybersecurity. You know what? I don't like that. I'm going to switch over to strategic intelligence or whatever. That's okay. You can count that initial cybersecurity class as your elective. Okay. So any of the other concentrations classes can count as electives. So that facilitates people changing their mind, because you can take the first 1 or 2 classes of a concentration, and if it turns out you don't like them, they're not wasted classes. They'll count as your elective. So I always tell people, like, kind of get your requirements out of the way first. That gives you more flexibility. So you maybe don't want to take an elective your first couple semesters. You want to bang out the core classes and the concentration classes you need, because that way, if you would change your mind regarding your concentration, it won't slow you down any. So that would be my advice. Any questions about that? Okay. So the program's really flexible, but the responsibility is on you to pick courses that fit your career aspirations and to determine your availability and their availability and your eligibility. If you want to take a graduate class from outside of our school, and you have a reason why you think that's going to meet your career aspirations, I'm going to probably approve it, right? Because, you know, we have a small program. We can be very flexible and accommodating. You need to send me an email and explain why you think it should count. Like, I think this will help me with whatever. And it doesn't have to be a long thing, just a couple sentences. And as long as I can see a connection, I will approve that. So you can take pretty much any graduate class offered at SLU if you want. Like, you can take, if you can get into the class, like sometimes they have prereqs and that can be a problem. But even if there's a prereq listed, I'd reach out to the faculty member and say, hey, I'm a grad student in this program and I would like to take your class. And sometimes they'll waive the prereq. So keep that in mind. The other thing you can do is SLU is part of a consortium. So as long as we're not offering the class, you can take a grad class at UMSL, you can take it at WashU. There's a couple of other places too, but like Concordia Seminary, stuff like that, that I doubt you're going to find classes that are relevant to us. But I have had students go to both WashU and UMSL if they find a grad class there that they think meets something they're interested in. And as long as SLU is not offering it that semester, you can take it. There is a process you have to go through. It's the Intercollegiate Consortium, and SLU has a webpage telling you what you need to do. So you can also look there for your electives if you want to. All right, my short piece of advice is read the handbook. You're responsible for it. We posted it online. You should read it. It's not that long. I'm going to hit some of the highlights, things you should be aware of, but I recommend you read it. First thing is academic integrity. We now have a unified academic integrity policy that applies to everybody here at SLU. It used to be it's, you know, different units had different things. That's not the case anymore. So everybody at SLU is subject to this policy. And you should read it and understand it because you are responsible for it. So it's not an excuse to say, well, gee, I didn't realize that violated the policy. You're going to be held responsible for the policy. So read it. I'm going to hit some of the highlights. None of this should be surprising. The one thing that might be surprising is there is sort of an honor code. If you become aware of an honor code, if you become aware of an academic integrity violation, you are required to report it to, you know, probably me would be the right person. So if you're aware of other people cheating, there's kind of an honor code component to this. We do say if there's a clear violation of which you have knowledge, you're required to make a report. So that would be concealment. Like if you fail to report a matter that you know about that is a clear, you know, so we're not going to come after you if it was like, you know, you didn't know. But like if you are aware of cheating, you are supposed to report it. Other things that are not allowed, you know, falsification, you know, misrepresentation for academic gain, plagiarism. If you were educated outside of the United States, the rules regarding plagiarism in your home country might be different from our rules. I know a couple of my Chinese exchange students got into some trouble at their high school when they first got here because it's just a, you know, like the rote memorization and just writing down what another expert said is considered okay. Here, of course, it's fine to do that, but you have to give them credit for it. So I always tell people, err on the side of citing people. You can cite every sentence, and that's perfectly fine. You know, so just make sure you don't forget to attribute it. And, you know, don't just write it down without saying where you got it from. Sabotage, obviously, if you're trying to jam somebody else up, like that's not allowed. Cheating of any kind, where you're getting the answers in advance, you're using AI to write your paper, you're having somebody else write your paper, that would all be cheating. Collusion, you're working with other people to get some sort of academic advantage. So, I mean, when you go through it, it shouldn't be anything that's surprising, but I recommend that you read all the examples of prohibited conduct so you know you're on the same page with the university in terms of how you are required to proceed with regards to academic integrity. Are there any questions? All right, if questions come up, you should direct them to me, okay? So if you read it and you're like, well, I don't know what that means, talk to me, okay? All right, I am everyone's advisor, so that makes it easy. So who's your advisor? It's me, if you're in the grad program. It is your responsibility to schedule an appointment with me. I prefer in person, but I will do by Zoom if that is necessary, if you're not going to be on campus when I'm on campus or for whatever reason. But I always think it's better to meet people in person. So, and I can meet you before you're going to go, all of your classes are at night. And I mean, even though that's not my office hours, I have sort of daytime office hours. I can meet you before your night class if you give me some heads up. Like, hey, I'm going to be on campus Tuesday. Can you meet me at 5 before my class? 9 times out of 10, I'm going to be able to meet you before, unless I've got some sort of evening commitment, which I usually don't. So I'm happy to meet with you in person. I am also around a lot. So if I'm there, I'm almost always able to drop what I'm doing to deal with a student issue. I mean, there might be a weird circumstance where I can't, but 9 times out of 10, if I'm there and knock on the door, I can put aside what I'm doing and we can talk about whatever you need to talk about. The program's not that big, so you can get lots of individual attention. So take advantage of that. You are not a number. We have a relatively small program. I think it's less than 25 students. So, you're not bothering me and I can answer whatever questions you have. All right, grades. Any class that you don't earn at least a C- in has to be repeated. It won't count towards your degree. We are more lenient than most grad programs. And the reason why we do that is because we only offer things every 4 semesters. So if you don't get a C-, you will be here in 2 years taking that class again. But while we're pretty lenient about what will allow to count for credit, you still have to meet the grad school rules of a GPA of 3.0. So if you get a C-, you're going to need an A to balance that off, right? Because you need to have a GPA of 3.0 to stay in the program. So every class has to be a C- at least, but your average has to be 3.0, which is a B, right? If you fall below a 3.0, you're going to get placed on academic probation and you have 12 credit hours, which will be 2 semesters because people on academic probation can only take 6 credits. So you'll have 2 semesters to bring that up. And if you don't, you'll be dismissed from the program. Okay. So you've got to have a GPA of 3.0. And if you go on academic probation, you get 2 semesters, taking 6 and 6 to bring it up. While on academic probation, you can't do an internship. Because, you need to focus on the classes and get your GPA up. I am going to endeavor to send you a notice if you would go on academic probation, but you are adults and I expect you to be aware of your own GPA. So if your GPA falls below 3.0, you are on academic probation automatically, whether you get a notification from me or not. Although you probably will get a notification from me saying, hey, you're on academic probation. But you're adults. You should know what your GPA is. If you fall below a 3.0, you are on academic probation and you only have 2 semesters to bring that up. And you can only take 6 credits a semester while you're trying to bring that up. Is that clear to everybody? Is there any questions? Mohammed, you have a question?
No question.
Okay.
Thank you.
I just saw you unmute yourself, so I was wondering. Okay, we're all on the same page? Okay. Let's say you're taking a class and you're like, oh, this is not going well. Withdraw while you still can before you get a grade that's going to damage your GPA, right? So just be aware of that. If things aren't going well, there is a last day to withdraw. St. Louis University sets it for every semester, so it's knowable information, but it does change somewhat. And then you need to submit a change of registration where you drop the class, and that will be done with the registrar's office. So you have a few weeks to figure out if it's working out. If it's not, I would recommend that you don't get a D or an F because that's going to be hard to dig yourself out of that hole. So if you're not going to get a C-, you might as well drop it because you're going to have to repeat it anyway, and you don't want it to ding your GPA too. Any questions about that?
No.
Okay. All right. So you're automatically going to be dismissed from the CCJ program if you get 2 F grades at any time. So if you flunk 2 different classes, the second F, I'm going to dismiss you from the program. If you don't, and this is automatic, like this just is going to happen. There is an appeals process, which you can read about in the handbook if some strange thing happened to you that caused the problem. But just generally speaking, On your second F, you're dismissed from the program. If you don't move off academic probation within 12 credit hours, you have 5 years to get a master's degree here at SLU. If at the end of 5 years you don't have a 3.0 GPA, you're not going to graduate. I'm going to dismiss you. And if at the end of 5 years you haven't taken everything you have to take to graduate, so you haven't taken all the required classes, we're also going to dismiss you from the program. So just keep that in mind. You need to be done in 5 years, which is a pretty long time. You should easily be able to be done in 2. So that's a generous deadline, but just keep that in mind. That's a pretty much of a hard stop. Also, you can be dismissed from the program if your behavior is such that we just don't think you're going to be able to be a professional in the CCJ system. So if there's, if you're caught cheating, if you are abusive to other people, if, something like that happens, there is that possibility that we will also dismiss you for either academic integrity reasons or professional expectation reasons. You can read the kind of behavior we expect. It's in the handbook. All right, grievances. If you think you were treated unfairly or unprofessionally by somebody who works for SLU, so a staff member or a faculty member, there is a grievance process. You should look at the handbook because it sets out the procedure and you have to follow that. And there's a certain format, like you have to do it in writing, you have to do it within a certain number of days. And you normally will start with me. And then from me, if you don't like what I have to say, you can appeal it to Brandy. But just read the procedure and you need to follow it. Hopefully you'll never need that information, but just if you do. Oh, yeah. There's also a harassment policy. That's the university's policy that is available if you feel like someone on campus, and that could be a student or somebody who works for the university is harassing you, Title IX violation, that sort of thing. That is handled by Anna Kratke. She's the either general counsel or associate general counsel, and the handbook will spell that out for you. So if anything bad like that happens, you are also welcome to come to me and report it to me as well. But follow the university's procedures in that regard. And obviously you can always come talk to me. If something is happening and you're upset about it, even if you don't want to be formal about it, you're always welcome to come talk to me. My door is open. And we don't have these problems generally speaking, but just so you know, if that happened, it's never happened, but it could happen. Okay. And then the clubs that you can join, the Association of Criminology and Criminal Justice, that is our official graduate student association. It hasn't been super active, to be perfectly honest, but it exists and it's open to all grad students. We also have a club that is for grads and undergrads that you're welcome to join. That club, I think, is a little more active. Joe Zlatic is the faculty liaison for that if you want more information. And then we also have an honor society. Kenya is in charge of that. You would be invited to join that. That isn't really something you can just join, but we do have Alpha Phi Sigma here. And that is something that you can be involved in, if you qualify academically. Any questions about clubs or organizations?
Sorry, how I can join to that association with I must send email to Professor Kenya?
If the Alpha, this one, you'll get invited. So you can't join it. They have to invite you because it's based on your grades. So
Okay.
that's not really open for you to join, but it exists. Yeah, I think you have to. Yeah, I think it's an honor society. I think it's based on your grades. You can certainly reach out to her and ask her questions. She's the person to ask about that. She'll be able to give you more information about what you need to do to qualify or whatever. So yes, Kenya would be a good person to talk to. If you're interested in the other clubs, I'd reach out to Joe Zlatic. He's sort of the faculty liaison taking care of the clubs. So I'd talk to him. You should be getting information automatically. This organization has not been super active, but you would be getting emails from the leadership there. And if you're interested in being the leadership there, maybe, that would also be a possibility. I would say talk to Joe. I think he's sort of the one that's the point person on those clubs. And Kenya for the Honor Society. And if you just want to get information like, gee, tell me more about it, they'd be happy to do that. So feel free to reach out to them. I also recommend that you introduce yourself to them anyway, because there aren't that many CCJ faculty. You should know us all. And, that's probably a good idea to just sort of introduce yourself anyway. Okay. Are there any other questions?
No, thank you.
All right. If there's no more questions, you guys, we are done until you have to get on to talk to Kenya about the internships. I think that's at 1:10. Isn't that correct? Shelby?
Yes, that is correct. So at 1:10, you will join Professor Brumfield Young, and I will put that in the chat right now. So that is your Zoom link. You should already have it, but in case you need it, there's the link to it for her 1:10 session.
Yes. And if anything else comes up, you can always email me or whatever. Like, I'll sort of be your first stop for most issues. And sometimes I'll send you someplace else, but I'm sort of a clearinghouse. You're all registered for the required classes, those two, which is good. You probably, if you're full-time, are going to be registered for a third class, unless you're in the accelerated program. Then you're only allowed to have 6 credits your senior year. The other classes would be undergrads. So I think you're probably all set. But if there are issues about that, you can ask Shelby or I about your registration. Questions? Okay, well, great. I'm going to stop the sharing. And if there's no more questions, I'm going to go ahead and end the meeting. Are we done?
Thank you.
Great.
you.
It was nice meeting you
Bye.
all or seeing you again,
Thank you
depending
all.
on whether I already knew you. Bye.
Thank you so
Bye.
much.